Right, so I have returned once again today to actually do the final stream of Bakemonogatari. Or I guess the final part of Tsubasa Cat. That's if YouTube does do its old thing when it kicks in. That was loud. I forget my headphones are quite loud. We actually are good to go as well, at least, besides my ears getting absolutely destroyed by adverts. Anyway, yes, we actually are here today to actually conclude Bakemonogatari. It's been quite a while. I think the last time I covered it was in May, I think. I always will say hello, that sometimes time does sort of, how are you doing today? Time does sort of drift away when it comes to me, and sometimes, it's not that I kind of drop any series or anything like that. It's more or less that burnout happens a lot with me. Burnout happens a lot with me recently. 2021's been one of those years that burnout has been a major part of this whole entire existence this year. But I thought, why not we conclude some shows that I have lingering around until next season starts, which starts on Sunday. Sunday, yes. It is. Everything's actually currently at my new place, so everything's pretty much empty at this point, so there's nothing to stare at anymore. There's no, like, movies or manga anymore. You know, I don't think I'll be staring at manga either there when I actually set the actual table up. I had to figure that one out still. Anyway, yes, back on Tsubasa Cat itself. But after last time, I believe we actually saw Senjogahara and Aragi have their very cute date in the middle of this whole entire arc, which is a very, very interesting place to put it. I wasn't expecting, like, oh look, here's a cute date in the middle of like Hanekawa kind of like pouring a heart out into a couple episodes, and actually then just getting not sidelined, but kind of like, by the way, here's Senjogahara doing some cute shit. I mean, I'm all for it, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say, bruh, I don't want that cute shit. At the same time, I just kind of feel like someone did say it pretty well that one of the best moments of Senjogahara and also Aragi happens in an arc, not dedicated to them at all. So I thought that was actually kind of cool. So I guess we'll see how it concludes, and actually how then Bakemonogatari itself concludes, which is not also the end of this whole entire series. As we know, this series is actually very fucking long. So anyway, let's put actually gone live. I say it's very long, so like not what, 90 episodes long I think in total. It's 90 and 3 movies. Well, technically, is 60 minutes? Is 60 minutes really a movie though? I always kind of feel like that's one of those things, or not. You actually can classify 60 minutes as a movie. Alright, episode 13 is now on there as well, so everyone knows what episode we're up to. I always wondered about that, because I always kind of feel like feature length is like a movie. If you kind of go beneath that, it's basically like an OVA or something like that. Anywho, it's not really an OVA either, so it could be a movie actually. Anyway, I love how it actually does show up how I can't type on the screen, because I actually can't type. Anywho, it starts the thing in 3, 2, 1. It starts the thing absolutely now. Hanekawa just kind of came back in like, bruh, this is my arc now. But it was my arc originally, but even more so now. It's weirdly enough, the show's like, what, 13 years old, I think? This one specifically. It hasn't really aged. Like, just Randy Sandler. Just like, what's up? I'm just vibing. God damn it, Aragi. Now, see, this is when I kind of hope for interjection by him saying, "Yeah, by the way, I'm a complete creep." Like he does sometimes. My always face though, it's just like fucking hell. Just does not want to be there right now. I also realized something. This series in Sayonara Zetsubou Sensei was also by Shaft as well. Have the tendency to randomly change animation styles, like completely. It's kind of great. The Sayonara Zetsubou Sensei does the exact same thing sometimes. I think it's actually episodes that are dedicated to completely different animation styles. So even Mayoi's like kind of like Hanakawa, best girl. It's actually kind of great. Everyone else actually kind of acknowledges the fact that Hanakawa's best girl. I was gonna say, isn't it different strokes for different blokes as well? Is the other way of saying it. Because it's different strokes with different folks and different strokes with different blokes as well. I've heard like 3 different versions of it. What the fuck are they? The middle of like Flower, Sun and Rain. It's like they're on Lost Pass Island. It's like why else would there be a lone donut shop right out in the middle of nowhere, other than a Super 51 game? Oh yeah, shit! This is like someone else's art completely, isn't it? It's like this is not about goddamn Maoi. Hanakawa just sitting there pissed off, like, bruh, this is my fucking arc. Why am I not a part of it? Because besides, like, what, 1 episode or 2 episodes, it's like being everyone else. I expect her at one point just kind of burst on through, like, just rip up the entire scenery, being like, bruh, I'm fucking out of here. This ends the entire show. It's the only way the show could actually probably end. And it's actually very on brand of Shaft to actually kind of end with a 4th wall break that destroys the entire fabrication of the universe. But yeah, it's interesting how the show does deal with the characters themselves as well, considering that they're not... It's... Because in other shows, like, when it centers on, like, when an arc centers on the character, it centers on said character. Like, until the arc ends... Mostly, if not all the time, it's like just about them, and sometimes about the protagonist actually growing as well. There might be some development for other characters around them, but it's interesting how this show has at heart the centralized character being that of Hanakawa in this context, but around it, she's not the least developed, but everyone else has developed more than her thus far. We had the moments with her originally, but it's actually kind of nice how this show doesn't always just focus or fixate on one character. Instead, it's called Tsubasa Cat, but at the same time, it's actually about other characters as well. It's a collective rather than singular, is what I'm trying to say. So that's kind of cool. It's actually a different way of utilizing the whole character arc structure. So it isn't so much because it does in a way do that beforehand, because a lot of Suruga Monkey was about Kanbaru the entire time, mostly. Senju Hada was also a part of it. But yeah, I kind of like this whole structure. It's kind of neat. Yeah, why is there like a whole like platoon of bikes when there's only like 2 people in this whole entire place? Give or take, there's actually probably 15 people in this entire world. It's very empty. Lol. Fourth wall break, bruh. Whoa. Whoa. Can you believe it, bruh? We don't have a fourth wall anymore. What's a Suda? Is this a Suda 51 joint? But if Chef actually made a horror anime, well, strictly horror anime, I guess they could. I guess you could probably classify Shimbo and Suda 51 as quite similar in like directorial efforts. Because this whole entire place does remind me a lot of the 25th Ward from the Silver Case. 25th Ward, the Silver Case. God, that game does not brain, because I remember the actual 25th Ward's the name of the actual game itself. How can you not sit there? How can you sit there? How can you verbalize words and tell me that Hanekawa's not best girl? She has glasses, bro. It does actually kind of, now that I think about it, the show does remind me a lot of the 25th Ward. The scenery itself, at least, because 25th Ward's meant to be kind of like empty and devoid of like, devoid of life. That's the kind of the point of it. Cause it takes away the individuality from the actual, from the self. There was an attempt. Yeah, let's see how this whole entire thing develops. It's not that simple considering we actually have 4 episodes to go. It ain't so easy. Seriously, why is this world so empty? Sounds like a perfect world, to be honest. If you actually kind of like looked at half this show out of context, you would think it's a post-apocalyptic anime that literally everyone's just been kind of wiped out. It's just about a set amount of people surviving. She is very cute. That's what I'm saying. Best girl. She wears pajamas, has glasses, actually has a really cute hat. What isn't there to love? Really, when you think about it, most jobs are kind of streamlined in comics and anime and manga as well, though, and TV shows. Which is why everyone kind of goes for them, because they're like, oh my god, it's actually not hard. And you actually get into it, you're like, oh shit, it's hard. It is kind of an esoteric joke, actually. I think. Huh. I did not know they actually write simply and swing in the exact same kanji is actually the same meaning. But seriously, in all actuality, like Hanekawa, too cute, 10 out of 10. It's got a point. It's actually a it's sort of an action rather than a question. Oh, like he kind of went, wait, what? Oh shit! I realise that now. Shit really does go down on spring break, doesn't it? Honestly. Now she has cat ears. We basically hit the point. We've ascended. Bro, we've fucking ascended. She has fucking cat ears. Cat girl's real. Cat girl's real. Finally, actual cat girls. But why did it have to be here though? Be in the middle of an arc that deals with the idea that this whole entire thing is actually not a-okay. How could you have done this to me, Shaft? I can't accept this betrayal. Sometimes a show can be cute when you think about it. That's the main thing. Sometimes a show can actually be adorable. That is exactly one thing you do actually put into one of your you do plunge a lot of charisma and you do plunge a lot into charisma on RPGs when you get vampires though. It's kind of the one thing you always do. Especially on RPGs like Fallout, which actually don't have vampires in them, to my knowledge. It's like Jon Snow. Just like Jon Snow. Oshion's just kind of like, yeah, fuck Aragi completely. No one cares about that, boyo. Good fucking point. I'm also a vampire. That's actually right. I'm allowed to go out in the light, so it's kind of, I'm a cool vampire. I don't sleep at night, and I go out in the light. He won't drop it. It's constantly like, yeah, no one cares about you. I don't think the latter one does actually kind of ring true. I have no idea if I'm actually that popular. At least I don't know I'm popular, at least. You forgot the most pivotal point about cats. They're also jerks. Why is Oshino so fucking cool? Unbelievably, like, every single scene he's in, fucking cool. Is that a sounds as if it's a bad thing. It's like, bruh. I know. That way of going out wouldn't be so bad, I don't think, that I know of. Maybe, who knows. I mean, yeah. Essentially, it's kind of feels like part one of the entire arc again. Like, part two was kind of like that, like, void of, oh yeah, by the way, here's Central Hada doing some cute shit, like I said originally. But now it's sort of like, now it's sort of heading back to how it's structured normally. The idea of like, oh yeah, by the way, here's a whole lot of shit that does seem a bit too alarming, bro. Because we've got to sort this shit out. Which I actually kind of find to be very interesting. Because it does actually kind of open up a lot about what's happening with Hanakawa, and also then subsequently about relationships she actually has, that she actually does have everyone else. That's the other thing this show does do quite well, is the idea of actually exploring the characters' relationships while also exploring the actual oddities themselves. And through that, we actually learn a lot more about the characters and actually how they react to one another. Kind of like that about this show. It's one of those things that this show is very much heavily or specifically more character-driven than your average show that releases. But at the same time, how it does then kind of counteract that is actually quite interesting with some very interesting things. If anything I just haven't made any sense, I have no idea. What I'm trying to say is, I like how this show basically looks at the idea of a character structure or character focus and actually then does a lot more of it than just, oh yeah, by the way, here's a character, essentially. Is it changed? No, it hasn't changed yet. It will change in a second though. Don't actually accidentally go too far forward on the next episode. There we go. Cool. Anywho, yeah. It is very interesting though how the show does deal with characters and actually the character structure itself. Because it does kind of very much feel like it's doing way more than what your average show does do, because your average show would just heavily focus on say a character and actually just and just call it a day after that point. But you kind of get with this show a lot more than that. You kind of get some more development with the relationships and actually then secondary characters as well. Because through that, you learn a lot more about who each character is in relation to each other, and actually it's kind of cool. Anywho, let's actually begin episode 14. Start this thing in 3, 2, 1. Start this thing absolutely now. That's what the precursor to a drone shot is. A helicopter shot. With an actual helicopter. I do actually kind of wonder how people actually kind of dealt with those kind of shots before drones kind of came to fruition. Well, that's actually kind of neat, in a way. You can't be angry at a cat ghost if all they do is meow and actually then laugh afterwards. You wouldn't be angry, but like, that's kind of cute. Yes, she didn't very say that she'll eat you alive, but at the same time, you're like, that's kind of cute. I said that she just said vague line. I was like, this whole entire show is a vague line. This show is literally just esoteric lines, the anime series. Also, will in theory restrict the idea of actually how Oshino's actual like place gives me anxiety just staring at it. That involved a donut store. That actually involved a donut store that she was actually currently at. That felt like it was actually in the middle of fucking Lost Pass Island. Honestly, because that's the only other time in anything that there would be something so far out in the middle of nowhere that it makes sense. But yeah, it's interesting now, considering that Tsubasa Cat really has hit like the point in which the original arcs kind of hit. Very wrong. I mean, Deco Snake actually was 2 episodes long, and so was one of the previous ones, or I think all the other. No, so was Hitaki Crab as well. So those ones started immediately and actually kind of ended immediately as well. But stuff like Moe Snail and Suruga's actual arc was actually episodes long. Those ones, it kind of felt like the first episode actually was the start of it, then development, and then ending. This one's 5 parts long. So episode 1 was kind of like the start of it. Part 2 was kind of like, okay, well, that's actually an interesting deviation from the entire thing. I appreciate it. Thanks for that, guys. And then part 3 was very much back to how this whole entire structure works. I kind of really do like it. I actually kind of feel like it's actually one of those things. It kind of bucks the trend of like usual like structure, as I've always been saying, where the show doesn't really kind of utilize the typical structure you kind of see in other shows. It has a structure. Don't get me wrong, the structure's there. It's the principal part of it all. But this, on the other hand, it kind of it deviates. It does this constantly, so it gets the actual ending. I kind of like that. It was actually kind of cool. Why is there a donut store in the middle of like the highway? It's kind of beacon of like it's kind of beacon of like hope in the middle of nowhere. it's like an oasis in the middle of a desert. Seriously, this whole entire place feels like the 25th Ward. I'm not kidding. Everything enough, please not gets past at this point in time as well. Just realised that. Honestly, it kind of feels like you lose someone in this world, you're actually kind of fucked. Ah! Was that a set up payoff as well? Was that a set up and payoff there, Shimbo? I feel that's actually how Kanbado actually like opens every single conversation as well. She just actually opens it up in the third person. What do you mean it's actual people in this world? What do you mean? This whole entire part of the episode is just a payoff to the previous episode. It's actually kind of brilliant in a way. It's kind of brilliant because you're wondering who the fuck they were, and it's actually kind of cool that it all pays off in the end. I know, stuff like that's actually kind of cool. Because it's one of those things, it's not really a setup as per se. It's not a kind of typical like setup and payoff episode, like part of the episode or anything like that. But it does sort of feel like it actually does sort of feel like it actually was a setup. You didn't really kind of realize it originally. So him trying to find Shinobu also then closes the whole entire thing with who these people were. So that's just kind of fucking awesome. Alright, I like that. For who? Because there's no one in this world. I'm telling you, this whole entire show out of context is just one massive post-apocalyptic anime. So they've got actually like one person turns up, I swear. I'm right, this whole entire show takes place in like some vacuum where the world actually ended. Tsundere. He got Tsundere service. Kind of love that his actual background is out of Hitagi as well. That's actually just, that's so adorable. Now see, if that was in real life, people would be like, man, that's so fucking cringe. But here you're like, that's adorable. Every single thing that Oshino does could otherwise end his life immediately. I kind of realized that. Well, he didn't get Shinobu, instead he got a cat. So I guess actually might be better, to be honest. Who knows? She's a cat. She can get out of anything. That's the entire point. Cats can get into anything and get out of anything immediately. It's all part of his plan in the end. It's all part of his plan, I bet you. It's all part of the plan. It's both be a blessing and a curse. This whole entire episode is basically the Catgirl GF arc. This might or might not be the nail in the coffin for whether or not Catgirls can actually exist in our own reality, that whether or not they be good. Like how Boys of This answers the question that sometimes wanting to date a teacher is not a good idea. Which is a bad idea all the time. Even a mere thought of it. Should literally end everything with Nia as well. It's too adorable. I will all be swayed by the cat. boobs. Those boobs be deadly, bro. The boobs be deadly. TBH, it probably was a good way to go out. Let's be real. If you're ever gonna go out one way or another, it's probably via boobs. Probably the best way to go out. Good God, this episode's just ass and boobs. It's just constant shots. It's never ending. The Lord have mercy upon my soul. Seriously, real MVP of this Hunter episode is literally the actual pajama set, though. They've got a gravitational pull, those boobs ain't falling out. God, it must have been an adventure actually, like, replacing a load of the syllables with Nia constantly. Because she doesn't just end sentences with the word Nia, she actually says it in the middle of the sentences and the beginning of sentences as well. I think she actually replaced the word Nandaro, but with Nyandaro instead, which actually was kind of adorable. I wonder if there's actually any single word that starts with an N. That's what she replaced it with, Nia. This is vibes in a corner somewhere. That's how it just always works with Shinobu. That's his middle name, to be honest. I'd argue Dense Boy. That's his middle name. Bruv, let's let go at this point. The whole entire show ends. Which makes sense with the show's ending, but you know what I mean. Yeah, it is every single word that starts with N, because she says naruhodo, but she says nyaruhodo instead. That's adorable. I like that. It is every single word that starts with N that she changes it for nya. What if it's just a na sound, she replaces it with nya instead? Bruh. Telling you. There you go. Mayo is actually onto something in the end. Oh god. Oh no. Feel the wrath of Senjuga hard in the process. But yeah, I do actually appreciate the fact that it replaces every single na sound, but with or any single sound with the letter N in it, with nya instead. So I was like, I swear to God, she said nya. Well, she says nya. Yeah, actually, the word now. Fuck. When you place a sound, it actually does become a lot more hard. I should remember how to actually say the word. Nyaruhodo. Instead of naruhodo, she says nyaruhodo. And instead of saying nandaro, she says nyandaro as well. But I thought actually was kind of adorable. I can't remember if she replaces human with the nya sound, because it's ningen, isn't it, for human? I can't remember if it says no, she doesn't actually. I don't think she does. So it is just words that start with na, if I remember correctly. So it is just na words. So I was right. I was onto something in the end. I thought so. I was like, I swear to God, it's every single sound that starts with it starts with na, because it would make sense. Because naruhodo, and then nyaruhodo instead. I don't know. That's kind of cool. It's a little like touch to the dialogue. That actually do a lot more to the actual scenes that I really do appreciate. Good episode overall. Sorry, I got distracted with the whole thing with the sentence structure. Who would have thought that she was in love with Aragi or anything like that? Who would have thought? Who would have thunk it? Not me. Oh shit! Imposter syndrome. She's actually just kind of brought out imposter syndrome. Cool. Anyway, let's actually restart this thing. Right, we actually are fine, so let's actually change episode. I don't know, it's stuff like that in that I'll actually re-appreciate, because it's one of those things, you don't have to do it. You don't have to replace every single sound with you don't have to replace every single na sound with nya. But if you do, I love it. It makes so much more It's so much more funny. Well, it's actually not so much more funny, but it's so much more like on point for the character because she's a cat. It's cool. I like it. So anyway, let's start episode 15 in 3, 2, 1. Let's start episode 15 absolutely now. There's a Ferris wheel behind him as well. Bruh. Seriously. Telling you, that pajama set's like MVP of the entire anime series. God, it must seem really difficult to be able to actually replace every single sound, but remember to replace every single sound with an ear as well. The hell's up with the DMC soundtrack? Bruh. That's a... He inadvertently fucked up. That's what they always say, bro. That's what they always say. How can you hurt my girl like that? It's like, whoa, hold up a second here, bruh. My brain. It be blown. Honestly, that actually was kind of a really cool reveal in the end. Because it plays into the idea that you really don't know anything about these characters, besides the surface level, so anything that kind of does happen with them, in essence the idea of like love and love interests like that, does come out of shock in the end, because you don't really know anything about them per se, besides what they tell you. So the things that get bottled up inside them, they get revealed like this. It kind of does in theory work quite well. I quite appreciate that. Poor Hanakawa though. My poor girl. Can't do a day like that. They still can't get past the DMC soundtrack going in the background as well. But yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly, there's actually a lot more to Hanakawa's character, because the whole entire arc later on dedicated to her as well, if I remember correctly. Is it it's two more, isn't there? If I remember correctly, there's is there two more dedicated to Hanakawa specifically? I swear, like, there's a 4 episode anime later on about her. Is it Kuro, if I remember correctly? Well, I swear it's Bakemonogatari Kuro or something. I might be wrong, but I swear there's one later on. I appreciate it's called fun episodes. Actually, bruh, it's actually like what? Episode 15 of a 9-episode anime series. Very true. She's actually did moving pretty damn fast. She swooped on in there. Like no joke. She just went bam straight in. Thank you so much. It's really kind of you to do. Thank you. Oh yeah, good point. Ogata Cat. That should be an arc later on in Gon Kamui. Do a whole arc dedicated to that's an amazing idea. I hope they actually do that later on. But thank you so much. Actually, it's really kind of you to do. Thank you. I also realised some of my favourite characters in anime are both cats. What I'd argue though, it's kind of like, fuck, I screwed up here somehow. Oh fuck. Oh fuck. See, above everything else, like everything with Aragi, he's a very kind of cool character. He does have those moments, don't get me wrong, but he's a really cool character beneath it all. I do appreciate when he actually does have his moments, because it actually does kind of feels real in a way. It is a complete subversion of the entire thing with these ideas as well, because the idea of like the last episode being the love confession or everything like that should end on the idea of them kind of going out and everything like that, but I also kind of appreciate it's actually subverting the whole entire thing. So he's always looking at the idea of the one who's the right one for Aragi and vice versa. Also, like how it's actually utilizing the same thing as previously. It ends how it begins. Also, the shot from Kaguya-sama as well, which is kind of cool. It's actually kind of cool how these episodes then also re-examine Aragi's character completely. Because one of those things you don't really know. You know him, but at the same time, you actually kind of take everything he does as gospel. But at the same time, it kind of then reevaluates his actions quite a bit. Yeah, that was the other thing. That was the other thing going on currently. They gotta find Shinobu. You can probably hear it screaming in the corner somewhere like, "I'm still lost, arsehole. Come and find me, bitch. I'm still lost." Sounds like a trap. Got done. He got done completely. That poor dude. Poor dude got absolutely done. Reverse lick, bro. That's not a good lick. I suppose Arlong actually still has any blood left. Well, owing your life to her, and then also your life going away via her, well, not her hands, but Yolati's hands itself, is very kind of different. So wait a minute. Well, it's actually kind of an interesting proposition. Bruh, I actually missed out on this opportunity to actually do a suplex escape. Bruh. This is very kind of great though. I actually really do like how the show's actually progressed to this point. It's actually kind of awesome. So again, it is re-evaluating Aragi's character at the same time as developing other characters. So wait a minute, that's my cue to actually come back. It's like surprise, but I've actually been here the entire time. Seriously though, those pajamas, MVP. Ah. Do you There's actually a shot. Was this a Keikaku Dori moment? She's gonna wake up like, what the fuck happened? Why the hell are you bleeding, bro? What did I fucking do? Second, I actually thought it was a Keikaku Dori moment. I thought, wait a minute. God, that drink almost killed me just then. I was like, wait a minute, why can't I swallow it? Oh, okay, now I can. No idea why that drink almost killed me. Tsubasa Cat was really damn good though. But yeah, it was 5 parts long, and one of the parts was actually literally about Senju Ohara. What makes more sense in context now. I actually do appreciate that whole entire thing. So you kind of at first you're like, why the fuck is an episode dedicated to Senju Ohara and also Aragi kind of just having a moment? And now it makes sense. Oh, that's why. She said that on purpose because of the light. I bet you. Damn. See, I did tell you Senju Ohara and also Araki are literally relationship goals. What's the point in dating unless someone's actually trying to murder you exactly at the same time, or the possibility of murder is actually on the table? Honestly, what's the point if that's not there? Damn, not Oshino though. Can't lose Oshino. Good point, actually. I like it. But now, actually, now you put the whole honey thing in there, I'm like... You reminded me of that just now. Dude's got a pretty good crew, though, to be honest. What do you think about it? Maybe we all need a Senjoku harder in life. For who though? There's no one else here. Well, that makes sense. And also, like, he's a vampire as well, which actually kind of like. I appreciate. It's actually kind of cute. And there we go. Took a while to get there, but we got to the. Oh fuck. We got to the end of Bakemonogatari. Yeah, I mean, it's I'll need to translate something really quickly. Oh man. It's one of those things that this show is really good. I kind of feel like, again, it's one part of a massive like collective, which is true because it's episode 15 of what's otherwise a 3-movie, I think 7-season anime series. It's only one part of it, but what it actually has in theory done so far is actually really well established the characters and actually established their plights and also their kind of development as well. So actually now you go forward knowing a little bit more about them. I still don't think you know anything about them just yet. I still kind of maintain that it's one of those things that as time goes on, more things have actually kind of come to fruition with them. Because of that, more things actually kind of then hit, even more so because of that whole entire event. It's that whole domino effect that this is the start of it, and as time goes on, more dominoes begin to fall, that actually then lead into more development for these characters. Actually then, it has that kind of like, long form structure in a way. You don't see very often done well. I kind of feel like here is actually a stepping stone that actually does then kind of feel like even at the end of it all, it might just kind of hit your heart like, holy shit, it's over, if you get what I mean. I can't really quite explain it very well, but it kind of, it feels, I guess the best way to describe it, it kind of feels like if you ever seen Gintama, when Katsura says Katsura Janai, and he says Zorara at the end of it all. That whole entire moment was like a 344 episode kind of build up. The entire time him saying Zora Janai, and then at the end of it all, he actually kind of says he is Zora. The same thing applies here. That this is a start of something that then kind of pivots into more things later on that hit you like, holy shit, that's awesome. It's something you don't see very often. Done very well though. I kind of felt like this is actually kind of like the structure I want to see more of in anime that I don't see too often. My throat was dying during a sentence. God damn. So yeah, I mean, that's why I like this show, because it does do those things you don't see often in other shows, especially in 15 episodes. So don't get me wrong, you do actually kind of start in the middle of the show already beginning, because we already had Kizumonogatari. Though Kizumonogatari wasn't adapted at this point, Kizumonogatari got adapted, I think, 4 years ago at this point. So we already had Kizumonogatari in context established, but not adapted. So we already started in the middle of something. But you don't feel lost. You kind of feel like you're actually just on a very, very long road that is going somewhere. But sometimes it kind of does that. But at the same time, he doesn't really mind. It actually does him really do some very cool things while also doing that. And I like how at the end, through it all as well, it actually always does look at Aragi's character. It's not one of those things that Aragi's just kind of there. He's not a means to an end. He's not a narrator in a way. He's not a kind of, what's the word? A kind of like, what's the term for it? Like our kind of gateway into the show, our surrogate in a way to actually get into the actual world itself. He's not just that. He's actually more than that. He's actually a person. He's someone that actually has real feelings. I actually kind of like how this show constantly does re-examine his character. Because of that, you get so many cool things with him, especially in this episode as well. I mean, Nadeko Snake actually was kind of like pretty good for the most part. It already elevated that arc beyond just being, oh, it's just an arc, is the fact that it examines Aragi's call to arms in a way, and actually how it does in theory kind of always, in a way, leads to bad things happening at the same time. And I like that whole entire thing. Same thing applies here. It's looking at Aragi's character to the point that he kind of feels, in his own way, fleshed out as well. He's not just kind of there to be there. He's actually more than that, and I actually kind of like that about him. That's why I kind of feel like the moments where he does do something is actually kind of cool. I mean, yeah, it doesn't excuse that his actions are kind of a little bit kind of sus sometimes, but at the same time, disregarding that whole entire thing, you kind of then get a character that is very multifaceted in a way. They actually kind of like about him. He's probably up there thus far, and some of the best protagonists I've actually kind of seen in a very long time, because he kind of feels like he's not just there. He kind of feels like more than just that. And everyone else kind of feels exactly the same. Everyone's not just there. Everyone has their own plights. Everyone has their own problems that need kind of examining. And I kind of like about this show as well. It's one of those things that it just kind of feels so much more fleshed out than your average anime that you see in the wild. And I kind of like that about this show. I kind of feel like this show kind of needs to be emulated a lot more in a sense of structure, because you don't see this very often. I kind of feel like shows try to emulate the style of Bakemonogatari or the Monogatari franchise itself because of how like kind of unorthodox it is with a lot of things. But at the same time, it kind of loses what makes this show special, because this show's special because a lot of the other things kind of work in tandem. So then to actually then create this kind of like cohesive package that you don't see very often. So yeah, I mean, all in all, fucking good, I must say. So yeah, that's the end of Bakemonogatari. We now move on to either. I have no idea if I'm starting Nisei Monogatari or I'm actually starting the Kizumonogatari movies. Either way, hopefully those will probably start soon. I need to kind of figure out next seasons completely, because Sunday seems like the most sporadic day this season when it comes to anime, considering there's actually like 4 animes premiering on a Sunday. Yeah, the other day seems pretty okay, but that one's kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, here's all the anime. So we'll see what happens. And then I know Nisei is only 11 episodes long, and Kizu is 2 60-minute films, 1 hour and a half movie. And then we have as well Monogatari Season 2, which is 25 episodes. So do be on the lookout for that whenever I can, in theory, slot those in. Also then seeing other things I do in theory actually kind of cover as time goes on as well. We'll finish off some other things in the meantime as well. So until then, I have indeed been the driver. So as always, if you actually have enjoyed this series, go Kizu, I'd say. Okay, I'll keep that in mind then, because I keep on hearing conflicting things. I keep on hearing go by chronological order, or go via the release order as well. That's why I hear either or. There's no release order was Nisei Monogatari next. Kizu would be second to last, because I think the last one is Zoku. Zoku's the last one, if I remember correctly. But keep that in mind. I'll see what happens anyway. So until then, as always, do leave a like. It does help quite a bit. It actually does help quite a bit. Also then leave a sub as well, because it does help quite a bit also. And also would say that I do apologize for actually kind of being very absent from this series for quite a long time. Again, it's not because I dropped these series or anything. It's just because my brain just kind of goes like that most of the time. I'm very slow. That's kind of I'm like an old man when it comes to my brain. It doesn't really work how it used to anymore. So I will probably do this a bit more as time goes on. Oh man, we never get that shit over here. I always lament when people are like, oh yeah, by the way, we actually oh yeah, as well as semi-book release order as well, because Kizu's first in the pack as well, if I remember correctly. It goes Kizu, Bake, then it goes Nisei, I think. in the release order in the box set that you buy. The first one is Kizu. So it makes you read Kizu first. Yeah. God, yeah, so yeah, I always will lament the idea how England doesn't do these kind of things too often. It's one of those things. It's rare when you actually get to see cool anime films in the cinema besides like Broly and Your Name and I guess Mugen Train as well. Though I didn't watch it because it's England and all because it's not very good over here right now. But anyway, enough talk of my lamenting the idea of actually how England works. Do leave a follow on the Twitter sphere as well. Does help quite a bit. Also, you actually will then know when your streams are live and any other streams I do as well. I could imagine. My brain melts after watching one arc of Bakemonogatari, let alone watching a 3-hour-long event at that point, because that's 3 hours if I remember correctly. So, God, I would not want to see my brain experience that in one go. It would be quite fun, but then at the same time, like, nah. Wouldn't be able to do it. My brain would just stop. I can't even make it through the entirety of Lord of the Rings in one setting, let alone one film of Lord of the Rings, let alone three Kizu movies. Oh man, but still, we don't get that. We don't get, even when it's like events over here, we don't get stuff like that. It's very extremely rare. It's extremely rare when stuff like that happens often over here. I mean, sort of does if you're in London, I guess. But I live outside London, and getting to London is actually really expensive. So it's kind of one of those things. I lose out either way. That's why most of the time it's actually better to actually do a cinema room. Because then you can do it yourself instead. Boom. Save. So until next time, I have indeed been a driver. As always, I will see you guys later.